Hi guys, just a quick tutorial for those that are interested. This is going to be an astrophotography stack of the Flaming Star Nebula, and here is the raw that I have stacked and piled on top calibration frames, etc. And I'll just show you how quickly we can pull data out. So let's load that in. This is just a data file. There's nothing in it, so it's just put there to show how even the raw picture is, but to be honest with you, it's just a load of crap. This is the actual data file here, and let's just make it a bit bigger so you guys can see hopefully what's going to go on. Get up there and there, and if we look into it, you can see as we zoom in there's some stars and stuff. And this is, again, I think I talked about this before, this is the linear stage. So there's loads of data there, we just can't see it, the human eye can't see it, but the camera sensor can. And what we will do is we'll just do what's called a screen transfer function, so that we can actually visually see the data that's on this image. So we'll just do that. And as you can see, it's brightened up the image, and we can see a bit more data on it, but it's it's green, and this is because of the Bayer pattern of the sensor. Remember, one red, two greens and one blue, and that's why the overriding color in this shot is green. So what we're going to do is, in the old days, this would have been getting out the books and looking up the tables and the corrections, etc. But what we can do now is we can go on a thing called the photometric color calibration, and we click on that. And what this will do is, you know, the sky is pretty well mapped by other telescopes, etc., etc. And each star is color graded for temperature, size, redshift and everything, and there's a whole catalogue of this stuff, and we're using the Strasbourg, France basically file, lookup file, for what colors all the stars and everything should be in this part of the sky. And what it will do is it will look up, match the colors to the stars with a table, realize there's too much green, and take out false colors basically, and reproduce what's on the screen with true color. So let's just do that. Okay, it's nearly done. Okay, and this is just a table showing us what side of the colour and contrast side each star is falling on, and as long as they're roughly grouped along these lines, everything should be okay. Now it's got rid of the green, as you can see, but it's gone very bright because it also has added its own particular stretch. So if we unstretch it and then stretch it again so our eyes can see it, we can now see the sort of the original visual photograph. And if you look, you can just about see the star of the nebula, which is the flaming star that's reflecting on the nebula. But if we look at this picture, it's a bit horrible. We've got light areas here, dark areas here, vignetting, etc. So what we're going to do now is we're going to equalize this background, and we go to the automatic background extractor, or ABE. Let me just look down at these settings. I won't go into the settings, functions, tolerance, subtraction, normalize. Okay, so if you look at this, this is the before, lots of gradient here, going from dark in the bottom left up to fairly light all over, especially the top right. So we'll ask this software to have a look at the gradient and smooth it out. Okay, so now it's given us 2 more frames. This is the original at the back, which we will no longer need. We'll move that out of the way. This is our new picture, unstretched, still in linear, and this is the image of the gradient that is removed. So let's stretch that and look, and as you can see, this is what it's removed from the overall picture. So remember, it was dark bottom left, light top right, and so it's got that and removed it. So now we'll look at this, stretch it. I'll make it big for you guys. And as you can see now, that gradient has gone and it's been smoothed out. So that's that. Now, the next issue, if you look at these stars, I think this is a total of 6 hours exposure time. Stars tend to be a bit fuzzy, but again, thank goodness for specialist software. We can go to something called Blur Exterminator. In the old days, this would be a convolution process. So if you look at the overall dimensions of the star, what this software will do is it will look at the cross section of the star, count how many pixels it is, and if it's basically oval or egg-shaped or oblong, it will bring those pixels into line. So if there's 5 on one side and 4 on the other, it will do 4.5 across the whole star. So we'll just pick that up, drop it in. It's take a little while, but if you keep your eye on these stars, okay, 80%, and there we go. And as you can see, it's basically shrunk the stars and made them all round. So I'll go back to the original. That's before and that's after. Very good. We come out, have a look. That's made things look much neater. However, if we look close in, we can see the stars all nice and round, but all this in between is noise, which, you know, pay a lot of money to reduce, but after 6 hours of exposure there will be still some noise left. So again, in the software, it's taking care of that, and we go to a bit of software called Noise Exterminator, and pick it up, run it, and again, keep your eye on not the stars this time, but if you keep your eyes on the noise, hopefully it will get rid of the majority of this noise. And there we go. So that's after the noise. Just go back, before and after. Lovely. If we go down, that picture starting to look much better. And if you bear with me now, I'm just going to go and make a cup of tea and I'll be back. So this is the linear process of what we can do with this image while it is still in linear format. If I take the screen transfer function off, you'll see that even if we zoom in, it's still as it was as from the very beginning. And I've got a cat meowing. Can't help you, Sorry, can't help you. So now the second phase of this is taking it from linear into visible, basically. But before we do that, what we want to do, let's bring it. What we want to do is we want to actually separate the nebula and the nebulosity from the stars. So again, a lovely, wonderful software called Star Exterminator will do that automatically, which would have taken us about 4 or 5 hours in the old days, doing it manually in Photoshop. And there we go. So as you can see, this is just the stars. Okay, and for the sake of keeping track of things, we'll rename this to stars. And our nebula we shall name starless. Right, and we'll pull them back into their linear phase. Okay, and now we're ready to make these visible to the human eye. So we'll start with the nebula first. And I think most of you guys will be familiar with this process. And it's just the basically histogram stretching. So we'll go to histogram transformation. We'll pick the image we want to stretch, starless. And we'll do RGB. We can separate out the colors separately. We'll do that later on. So at the moment we're just going to do a linear stretch. So this is our nebula here. So we'll just do a preview window to see what we're going to do. We take the midtones, bring them along almost to the nebula, and then the darks, the midtones. Okay, not touching it, but almost up to it, but not going into it. Okay, do that. Okay, and as you can see, it's gone completely white. That's just a preview. And again, this is our window. It's not in linear form anymore, but it's still not in visual form. And we'll just go back now, do another stretch. This is our second stretch, and again the midtones and the darks and the midtones, just up to but not into. And if you look this time, we can actually see the nebula starting to form. Okay, we'll do that. And we see a little bit more of the nebula starting to form. We're going to do one more stretch. Up to but not into. Round about that. Okay. Reset that. Get rid of that. So now, as you can see, it's now starting to become visual, so the human eye can see it. But we still need to tease out some more detail. We've stretched it as much as we can at the moment, but there's still more detail in there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do some curves. So we just done the histogram stretch, and now we'll start doing some curves. And the thing is with curves, with delicate data like this, is not to go mad, just to be very gentle. We go to curve transformation, bring in a preview, and we're going to do what's basically known, I think, in most of photography, even especially astrophotography, is an S-curve, a very gentle S-curve. So we will just get the mid-tones and just bring them forward just a touch, and then the lower tones will bring back just a touch, and as you can see, that's just bringing Nebula back where we want it, and then just the highlights. Let's have a look. That will do that, and we'll OK that. Have a look at the original, and I think we can do another tones adjustment, curves adjustment. Again, just bump the middle, the lower tones, and the higher tones, just nudge it. Okay. Let's have a look at that. It's starting to get noisy again because of the red, basically. So we will now go back to histogram, see where we are on there. Starless, so we can bump up the dark. Let's put a preview up for you guys. Can bump the stars up a bit. Just bringing a little bit more data. As you can see, that nebulosity up here is coming out. Okay, we'll give it a bump. Okay, so that's another histogram stretch, and then we pulled some more data out, so we'll now go back to another little bump curves. So you have to be careful because around the nebula, as you can see there, that's the main nebulosity. But if we just bring that detail back a bit, you can see surrounding it is like a fog. And we want to keep that in if we can. So we try our best. And if you look at the center now, the center of the nebula, we can blow it out by lifting the highlights and then just bring it back. So you have to be very gentle and very careful with the adjustments, or else everything will start going wonky really quickly. So that's one. Okay, let's have a look. Okay, and we will go again. One more little bit. See if we can drag any more out. Okay, so now if we start looking with all that faffing about, not only are we pulling detail out, but we're pulling more noise out. So it's time for our friend. Again, we did it in the linear state. We're now going to do it in the non-linear state. We're just going to go through this noise reduction again. Okay. So that's before, after, before, after. Okay, that's looking better. Maybe I'll bring it, no I won't, maybe, oh let's have a look. We'll bring it into histograms one more time, see if there's anything worth doing with it. Still on starless, let's have a look. Maybe we can pull a little bit back. Colours are mostly lined up. Yeah, I won't bother with moving individual colours. That looks okay as it is. So that is our nebula. Okay, so that's part one. If you remember, we split them in two. We had the nebula and the stars. So the next one we're going to stretch is the stars. The good thing about separating them out is the stars themselves have their own particular colours, and trying to get the stars and the nebula to reflect their colours all the same is a nightmare to do when the picture is combined, but separated out and it becomes quite easy. So again, just like with the nebula, we'll go to do the stars with the histogram stretch, and this time we're doing stars, and again we're just preview that. Pull that right back down. As you can see, some stars have appeared. Okay. Okay, so that's the first stretch. We'll do another stretch. Oh, sorry guys, I'll do a preview for you. We'll do another stretch to about there. Just have a look at them. Okay, now although you can't see it, we have these stars. These main stars here are yellows and blues, but they've lost a little bit of their colour. So what we'll do now is we'll go to colour saturation, which is there, and all we're going to do is give the colours a stretch in that vein, and as you can see, got the yellow reddish, the blues, there's a couple of greens around there coming back up, so that will do lovely. Preview. We'll go back now and to the histogram, see if there's anything to pull, anything further to pull out of there. If you look, we don't want them to get too overblown like that. We want to keep them fairly reasonable, and also not glaring like that, because that will start interfering with the nebula then. So we just keep our eye on what we think might be, let's say about there is a good spot. Okay, and I think that will do for the stars. So there's our nebula. there's our stars. Maybe we can do a background neutralization here again. Let's see what it's done. Okay, compare it to that one. It's done a little bit. Oh, we have to rename this one. Okay, we can get rid of him now. Minimize him. Get that out of the way. Okay, so now we combine them both back together. Use a thing called pixel math. It's very simple. Stars plus starless. Go. Oh, hang on. Forgot to rename it. Okay. That's straight starless. Okay, try again. Yeah. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. And this is our final picture. Fully stretched and worked on. This software is purely for astronomy, but now what you would do is you would bring it into Photoshop or GIMP or Affinity Photo, any photo editing pictures, just to make it come to life. Figure out areas if you want to hold areas back or mask them or whatever. But that's basically it. Sorry about the cat and all that, but how to stretch a stacked image. End of lesson.